Let's talk about Two-Face. Now, Two-Face was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger and appeared in Detective Comics number 66 in 1942. And there's a lot that we as fans of comics know about Two-Face. He is Harvey Dent. He's unable to make any major decisions without flipping a two-headed coin that is scarred on one side. The left side of his face is horribly scarred by acid, and that he's a very charismatic and excellent public speaker. Plus, he's pretty handy with a pair of dual pistols that he always carries. So these are the things that we know about Two-Face, but what about 10 things that we don't? Well, that's why I'm here today, as I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 things that every DC comic fan forgets about Two-Face. Number 10. Harvey wasn't the only Two-Face. While Harvey Dent is the one true Two-Face, there have been a number of people who have portrayed the villain over the years. The first imposter was Two-Face's own butler Wilkins, who used makeup to become Two-Face and make it appear that the recently recovered Dent had relapsed and destroyed his own face once more. The second, and one of the most tragic, was actor Paul Sloan. Sloan was filming a documentary on Harvey Dent, and a jealous prop master had replaced fake acid with real acid, leading Sloan to believe that he was Two-Face and then went on a crime spree. He's healed by Batman and then redisfigured by Two-Face himself in the hopes that he would continue to commit crimes to confuse Batman. Now, George Blake is the third Two-Face imposter and the second to use makeup. He used makeup on the opposite side of his face to Dent, so it was obvious to Batman that he was a fraud. And on the villain-run planet Earth-3, a heroic character named Three-Face has 3 distinct personalities and differentiates them with makeup, and she is also the mother of sometimes Titan Jula Dent. Number 9. The character is based on a horror classic. It should come as no surprise that Batman co-creator Bob Kane drew inspiration from the story Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but it was from the 1931 film and not the original 1886 novel The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from which the writer took his inspiration. In the film, Dr. Henry Jekyll believes that every man has the capacity for both good and evil inside them, and experiments with a mixture of drugs that unleashes his sadistic, amoral alter ego, Edward Hyde. Hyde abuses and then eventually murders a music hall singer that Jekyll had saved from a fight and assaults Jekyll's fiancée and murders her father. Hyde was eventually killed and transforms back into Jekyll. Kane also drew a great deal of inspiration from the pulp character the Black Bat. Not only is he a bat-themed character that fights crime, similar to what would become the Batman, but the Black Bat's alter ego is Anthony Quinn, a district attorney who is blinded and disfigured after acid is thrown at him by a criminal. Number 8. He has a complicated relationship with a GCPD detective. Two-Face found love in the most unlikely of places, but it was a love that was entirely one-sided. During the No Man's Land saga, where Gotham City was ravaged by a devastating earthquake and temporarily cut off from the rest of the nation by government mandate, Gotham City police detective Renee Montoya and Two-Face met. Renee appealed to the Harvey side of his persona and was very kind to him. At one point, Dent sent flowers to Renee and she came to visit him in Arkham Asylum, but Dent mistook this kindness for affection and began to fall in love with the detective. Montoya rejected Harvey and the unrequited love turned into an obsession. Two-Face framed the detective for murder, outed her as a lesbian, and orchestrated a prison break to make her a fugitive. Dent did all of this to leave Renee with nothing so that she would have to come running back to him. And unsurprisingly, it didn't happen. Even after all of the hell that Two-Face put her through, Renee still saved Harvey's life. Now the faceless hero The Question, Renee stops Two-Face from killing himself by convincing the Harvey Dent side of the persona that he still is a good man. Number 7. He was left out of the 1960s Batman series. Two-Face is one of the few top-tier villains of Batman's rogues gallery that wasn't featured in the iconic 1960s Batman television series. This was probably because Harvey Dent's face was deemed too frightening for the kid-friendly audience, but that doesn't mean that the character was completely forgotten. Prolific science fiction writer Harlan Ellison wrote a Two-Face story for the series in 1968, and then young actor Clint Eastwood had been cast to play, but the series had been cancelled by that time. The Batman 66 The Lost Episode 2-issue comic was produced based on Ellison's script and had a Two-Face that fits the aesthetic of the series. Lesser-known Batman villain Falseface was a mask-wearing surrogate for Two-Face in the series and only appeared in 2 episodes, True or False Face and Holy Rat Race. Falseface was later revealed to be the also omitted Clayface in the Batman 66 comic book. Falseface has appeared 5 times in the Batman 66 comic book to date. Number 6. Batman's giant penny originally had nothing to do with Two-Face. The giant penny in the Batcave is one of the 3 most iconic trophies that Batman owns, along with a giant Joker card and, of course, the mechanical Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, the penny weighs in at 216 pounds and resembles a copper penny with the year 1947 on it, obviously at gigantic size. The interesting thing is, though, is that the penny has been wrongly attributed to Two-Face when only a cartoon and recent comics have linked the coin to the character. The penny was originally attributed to a low-level villain named Joe Coin, the Penny Plunderer. During a robbery, he found the register filled only with pennies, and he saw this failure as a sign to base all of his crimes on the pursuit of the near-worthless tender. The giant penny and a valuable 1-cent stamp were the valuables that Coin was after when he was easily bested by Batman. Later, Lucius Fox, the CFO of Wayne Enterprises, used the penny to thwart the Riddler when it was being used as a giant art installation. It was Batman the Animated Series episode Almost Got Him that saw Batman strapped to the penny and flipped into the air, about to be crushed. Single issues of various comics put Coin, Two-Face, and the penny together into one story. Number 5. Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent knew each other as children. The New 52 reboot made further connections to the lives of Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent, connecting their lives in places that had never been connected before. For years, Harvey's politician father would get drunk and beat him, and he would sometimes give Harvey the chance to get out of the beating by the flip of a coin toss. Harvey eventually had enough. He tied up his father and left him in their house for several days until the police discovered him. The younger Dent was captured and sent to Arkham Boys Rehabilitation Home, and there he met a young and rather serious Bruce Wayne who was still traumatized by the recent murders of his father and mother, and the two became friends. The young boys entered into a pact. Bruce agreed to kill Dent's abusive father, and Harvey would agree to kill the Wayne's murderer, who was low-level thug Joe Chill. However, Harvey decided to give his father a second chance when the man expressed remorse and reminted his coin to have 2 heads, as a gesture that he would never beat Harvey again. Bruce thought that this was naive, but left Dent to begin his life anew as he set his own into motion. Number 4. Duality and the number 2. Although it was not originally part of the character, the concept of duality and variations on the number 2 soon became an important part of the gimmick behind Two-Face. While not as belabored as heavily as Bird crimes for the Penguin or Riddler's riddles, it was not uncommon to see doubles somewhere in the vicinity of Two-Face. Because of his physical beauty and charismatic nature, Dent earned the nickname of Apollo, the Greek god of the sun, music, and many more things. After his transformation into Two-Face, Dent has identified more with the god Janus. Janus is the god of duality, beginnings, endings, transitions, time, and passages. The number 2 became a key element in Two-Face's life as well. He would hire identical twin henchmen and commit crimes on a day with 2 in the date, or precisely at 2:22 in the day. Two-Face might commit crimes in buildings with 2 in the address, rob 2 of something or 2 establishments at once, rob it twice, or some other variation on the theme. And remember that every aspect of these crimes was determined by a flip of his coin. Number 3. The coin has its own history. As much as the near perfectly divided face of the man himself, Two-Face's coin is an icon image that holds a revered, if somewhat morbid, place in comics history. Two-Face uses the coin to make most, if not all, of his major decisions. Many times, Two-Face's own elaborate plans have become undone thanks to the good side of the coin turning up. In early continuity, the coin was the good luck charm of a crime boss, Sal Maroni. After Maroni threw acid at Dent and created Two-Face, Dent scarred up one of the sides of the 2-headed coin so that there was now a perfect or good side and a marred or evil side, just as he saw himself. Later, the coin was said to be owned by his abusive father, and he would flip it to see if young Harvey could skip the beating for the night. The younger Dent rarely won. When Harvey's dad showed remorse, he showed him a 2-sided coin with the same image on both sides, which is a coin that he took and scarred up when he became Two-Face. Number 2. Origin changes. So the origin of Two-Face has remained mostly unchanged throughout the various comic ages, but nothing remains the same forever. In the very beginning, Two-Face was named Harvey Kent. The last name was changed to Dent to avoid confusion with Superman's alter ego Clark Kent. This version was later retconned to have been cured and was now the friend of the retired Bruce Wayne on Earth-2. The most well-known origin of Two-Face saw crusading and attractive district attorney Harvey Dent hammering mob boss Sal Maroni on the witness stand before the mobster threw acid at Dent's face, with only Batman deflecting deflecting half of the shot so it only struck his left side. This drove Dent insane, and he took Maroni's lucky two-headed coin, scarring one side as his own, and used it to make his decisions between doing good or evil. In the New 52 continuity, Dent is the lawyer for the McKillen crime family. Twin sisters Sharon and Erin place a contract on Commissioner Gordon, and this prompts Bruce Wayne to fund Dent's run for district attorney. The sisters are prosecuted and sentenced to life in prison. Shannon kills herself, and Erin escapes as her corpse. Erin breaks into Dent's house, kills his wife, and then pours acid on his face, creating Two-Face. Number 1. Two-Face suffers from real-world mental disorders. While the concepts behind Two-Face are placed firmly in the pages of comic books, many of the issues that torture the mind of Harvey Dent are all too real. Dent grew up with an alcoholic, abusive father who would flip a coin to give the boy a chance to skip a beating, which he rarely won, and this caused Dent to grow up with severe paranoia and a lot of unresolved anger issues. When Dent was scarred, he had a full psychotic breakdown and developed dissociative identity disorder. This condition manifests when two or more distinctive personalities exist in one person. The disorder usually accompanies memory gaps between the times that the individual personalities are in control, and the foundation of the disorder in Dent can be traced back directly to his childhood abuse. Two-Face is Dent's alter ego, or second distinct personality that seems to share at least partial, if not equal, space in Dent's psyche. The split is so complete that Dent and Two-Face have occasionally been seen having arguments with themselves or himself. Only the coin seems to keep a balance between the brilliant and noble Dent and the evil and utterly deranged Two-Face. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 things that every DC Comics fan forgets about Two-Face. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my Warhammer battle reports and streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.